fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and Bula from a very warm Fiji. Now, I have been doing some digging into the history of South African Airways, just because I can, and I came up with a name, Andre Viljoen. Now, remember that name, Andre Viljoen. He was the Chief Executive Officer of South African Airways in 2006 and resigned suddenly for no apparent reason. Okay, so that's just a starting point. Now, what I'm going to show you in this video is how Andre Viljoen, the same Andre Viljoen, has turned Fijian Airlines around into a hugely profitable airline since he left South African Airways. And there's no guessing as to who took over from Andre Viljoen, is there? One of the ANC cadres. So that's when the rot set in. Let's see what they say on the internet. And my sources are here. Let's start off with, what's the name of this paper? Mail and Guardian. This is dated the 6th of July, 2004. Okay, so actually resigned in 2004, my apologies. South African Airways President and Chief Executive Officer Andre Viljoen has resigned, although his contract was due to end only in 2006. Viljoen's resignation will be effective from August the 31st, 2004, the South African Airways board said on Monday. Acting board chairperson Chida Mokabuni said, Mr. Oyama Mabandla, currently Deputy CEO, has been appointed acting chief executive from the 1st of September 2004. And guess what? Your first BEE appointment, and guess what? That's when the rot set in South African Airways. Let me tell you some more. Mabandla was appointed last year following a restructuring of South African Airways management. He was expected to take over from Viljoen when his contract ended. That's called black economic empowerment, or for people like that new CEO, the black CEO, yes, it's called black privilege. Mokabodi gave no reasons for the resignation of Viljoen, who replaced Coleman Andrews as CEO in 2001. Business Day said on Tuesday that Viljoen had been reported as saying he was interested in a position as chief executive of the ailing Swiss International Airlines. Democratic Alliance spokesperson for Public Works Ian Davidson said it will be a great loss to South African Airways. He was at the helm of when South African Airways was turned around from a loss maker to, although a still loss maker because of the hedging offers, at least an operationally profitable airlines. Now, hedging can go either way, so that's not his fault. Operationally, South African Airways was profitable in 2004. Mabandla, the new CEO, was born in Cape Town on the 24th of February 1963. He went into exile in 1980 and worked for the ANC. He worked as a strategic advisor under Chris Hani and also was a political analyst for the ANC until 1988. You getting the picture? So you replace Andre Viljoen with an ANC cadre tied up with the liberation of South Africa. Liberation, I call it something else, but anyway. Anyway, Mabandla completed a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science at the University of California. He joined the Johannesburg Bar in January 1999 as an advocate. Mabandla joined the airline in 2001 as the operational head of the legal department. Yeah, the only degree he's got is an arts degree, and he's now head of the legal department. Do I have to say anything more? Anyway, let's continue. In March 2001, Mabandla was appointed as Executive Vice President and negotiated the $3.5 billion acquisition of 41 Airbus planes. So there you go. That's Andre Viljoen, who we're talking about in this video, who used to be the CEO of South African Airways, making it profitable back in 2004, who is now working for Fijian Airlines. And this is just totally coincidental. I will show you in a second pages from the Fijian paper where they're talking about the incredible success that Fijian Airlines has had under one Andre Viljoen, who is now the CEO at Fijian Airlines, where there is no BEE, there's no affirmative action. It's all about what your capabilities are. And that's what's missing in South Africa. Anyway, let's continue. Now, this is an article from Fiji Airways. And it's dated, let me just get a date on this. It's a few years old now. Yeah, October 2015. Okay, so Andre Viljoen went from South African Airways to Air Mauritius, and then from Air Mauritius to Fiji Airways. Fiji Airways has a new CEO and managing director, the current head of Air Mauritius, Andre Viljoen. Mr. Viljoen's appointment to the national airline was announced today by the chairman of Fiji Airways, Mr. Nalin Patel. He will take up the position before the 1st of October 2015. Mr. Viljoen has 33 years of professional experience in the airline and tourism industries and has been the CEO of Air Mauritius since 2010. Mr. Patel said the Fiji Airways board was extremely pleased that the company would be led by someone who, as a CEO of Air Mauritius, had transformed that airline, restored it to profitability, and attained the coveted Skytrax 4-star rating for product and service. Okay? You're getting the picture. This is a guy that South African Airways just told to piss off, basically, because of BEE. Incredible. Anyway, they went on to say, Andre is an experienced airline professional with a strong business and customer focus. We believe he is a perfect person to lead Fiji Airways and will have the full support of the board together with our experienced management and team. Mr. Viljoen joins Fiji Airways after its recent transformation. Oh, there's our word, transformation. But I think this is a different type of transformation, including its rebranding from Asia Pacific and a fleet upgrade, and at a stage when it is exploring further commercial opportunities, including new routes. Now, let me just say something here. Fiji has a population of just over 1 million people. And when you hear the profitability of this Fijian airline with just 1 million people in the country, yes, I know tourism is its #1 industry, but you consider what South Africa could be doing with this tourism industry. It's just going down the gurgler so bloody fast. And South African Airways going down in a heap is certainly not going to help the tourism industry. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant. Let's get back to what's going on here. And by the way, you can just go and Google Andre Viljoen and South African Airways, or Andre Viljoen and Fiji Airlines, and you will see everything that I'm talking about here. You can join the dots and see what this ANC government have totally done to screw South African Airways. They got rid of the guy who could have brought it to profitability, and they've brought in their cadres who've effed it up. Quite honestly, they've effed it up. Anyway, that's a rant. Let's go back here. The Attorney General and Minister for Public Enterprises, Ayaz Sayed Kayomi, welcomed Mr. Viljoen's appointment on behalf of the Fijian government, the airline's majority shareholder. So like South African Airways, Fiji is a major shareholder in Fijian Airlines. You starting to join the dots now? Well, let me tell you how much money, I'll tell you in a minute how much money, as a result of Andre Viljoen, the rejected CEO of South African Airways, has brought into Fijian Airlines, which is offsetting the tax base. In other words, it's providing tax revenue. The Attorney General said, I'm delighted that Fiji Airways has been able to attract yet another outstanding international airline executive to head our national carrier and fulfill our ambition to make the world best boutique carrier. Andre has big shoes to fill in replacing Stellan Pichler, who produced a record financial result for Fiji Airways last year. But this is an outstanding choice, and we look forward under his leadership to expanding the airline footprint into other international hubs. Okay, now let's have a look at profitability, and this is now what Andre Viljoen has done to Fijian Airlines in just 3 short years. Okay, remember, this is the guy that South African Airways replaced with a ANC cadre. This is back in 2004. Yesterday, the Fijian Airlines Group announced its revenue for 2018, which was an increase of 10%, taking the gross revenue of the group to 1.02 billion Fijian dollars, a first in its 67-year history. And it gets better. Amidst pressures from rising fuel costs. Remember how these South African Airways are complaining about rising fuel costs and all these other things? They're just excuses. They're red herrings. They know that they are just so corrupt there. They just don't know what they're doing. They put their cadres in there. If they had Andre Viljoen in there right now, if they hadn't given such a hard time, guess what? South African Airways would be a hugely profitable airline. But no, you've got a bunch of monkeys running the ANC. That's what you got. Yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Cyril Ramaphosa. Yeah, we're going to make the world change, buddy boy. Anyway, continuing with this story. Amidst pressures from rising fuel costs and continuing investment efforts to grow the company, the Fiji Airways Group continues to achieve impressive financial results year on year. Yesterday, the group announced its revenue for 2018, which was an increase of 10%, taking the gross revenue of the group to 1.02 billion Fijian dollars. Now, a Fijian dollar, just in case you didn't know, is about 75 Australian cents. So their currency is very stable, and it's probably worth about, I suppose about 1 Fijian dollar is probably worth about 7 rand if we look at it that sort of basis. That's just very rough. Yesterday, the group announced its revenue for 2018, which was an increase of 10%. Okay, I've mentioned that. But that 1.02 billion Fijian dollars compared to the previous financial year of just 929 million Fijian dollars gross revenue. And they go on to say the Fijian national carrier is not immune to the rising fuel costs and other factors, which include big investments they've done in growing the company. Despite having a Boeing MAX 8 grounded, the national carrier has punched well above its weight and announced a gross profit tax of 55.3 million Fijian dollars. Think about it. This is under the stewardship of Andre Viljoen, who used to be the CEO of South African Airways just 15 years ago. Imagine what he could have done with South African Airways. But no, because of BEE, it's all screwed up. It's all gone. It's dead in the water. This is what's happening all over South Africa. This is just one example of probably hundreds of thousands in South Africa where a competent white person has been replaced with an incompetent, BEE approved black person who's just incapable, on the take, and corrupt. And that's what's happening in South Africa right across the board. Good on you, ANC, with your affirmative action and your transformation, moving everything into black hands. You know what? You're moving back to the dark ages. Soon the only health department you have will be witch doctors. The only way you'll be able to transport something is by on the back of a horse. I'll probably forget what the wheel is for. You know, that's where South Africa is going. The whole thing is in a complete shambles. And this is only the start. It's getting worse, guys. It's getting worse. Wait until sewage starts falling down your street. And it is. The municipalities are a complete disgrace. Anyway, getting back to the story. I'm sorry, guys, I'm on a rant, okay? The Fiji Airlines Group eligible non-management staff will take home an additional 2,350 Fijian dollars given the performance of the airline. This is what many companies can achieve. The right mindset, the right attitude, and holding people accountable can indeed go a long way. And I would go one step further, and I would say having the right people with the right qualifications, not your ANC cadres who are there because they're on the take. And that's the difference between what you got in Fiji Airlines and what you got with South African Airways. Huge discrepancy. South African Airways was once an incredibly powerful, profitable airline, and that's how the ANC have screwed it up. In 2018, Fiji Airways added 3 brand new twin Otter aircraft and a Boeing 737 MAX 8 to its fleet. And in the paper cuttings I'm going to show you in a second, separately, you will see they've just bought 2 new A350, the new Boeing planes. I mean, these guys are going from strength to strength, absolutely growing like anything. Under Andre Viljoen, the man the ANC got rid of in 2004, who used to run South African Airways. Think about it. Fijian Airways has also opened a new route on its network, flying 3 times a week between Narita, Tokyo, and Nadi, Fiji. This, along with Fiji remaining an increasingly popular choice among travelers, contributed to Fiji Airways flying 1.7 million passengers during the 2018 financial year. That's almost twice the population of Fiji. Think about it. The airline also joined Global Airline Alliance One World as it is ever One World Connect member. Similarly, it signed new and strengthened existing code-share relationships with partners including Alaskan Airlines, British Airways, Singapore Airlines, and Silk Air. Despite a raft of initiatives, including a record high revenue figure, one of the biggest factors impacting the financial performance of Fiji Airways Group, in particular its pre-tax profits, was the rising cost of fuel, which increased 28% compared to fuel prices in the same period the previous year. Now remember, that's the reason South African Airways gave for their dismal performance. What a load of crap. Every airline in the world faced that. Their dismal performance is because of corruption right through the organization, right from the chairperson all the way down to the people working for South African Airways technical and the maintenance department, who are BEE appointed, and many of them are totally unqualified for the work that they're doing. This is a crazy situation that BEE has brought to the canary in the cage, South African Airways, that is just going into a huge hole. And it's obvious where the rest of the state-owned enterprises under this ANC government are going to go. They're not going to go in a different direction. This is just spearheading the way for the rest of them. Anyway, concludes by saying, and the Fijian Airways Group growth does not end there. With investments done to start construction of its own Fiji Airways Aviation Academy in Namaka, Nadi, they are set to rake in more benefits for their staff and also for the Fijian people in general. Now, that's something I want to speak to, guys. Okay, now let's think about this, okay? South African Airways. If you had, let's say Andre Viljoen had been treated properly at South African Airways and he was still working there, and you had people who were there because of their qualifications and because of their competency, let me assure you right now that South African Airways would be making billions of dollars, not rands, billions of dollars in revenue. And I would suggest hundreds of millions of dollars in sheer profit going back into the state revenue to help support the economy. What you've got is the complete reverse, as we all know. And it's all happened since 2004 when they brought in the ANC cadres who just cleaned the place out, brought in their BEE mates, and they just destroyed this incredibly profitable, well-run organization. Look, it's not rocket science. What I'm going to do now is, I mean, this is the, I have to share with you that this is another incredible coincidence with this Loving Life channel. I got a copy of the Fijian paper today, and I opened it up and I was going through it and I saw this article about Fijian. It was actually an advertisement. I'll show you the ad just now on this video, where they were talking about how Fijian Airlines has grown. And then they've got a 4-page insert where they're actually talking about where Fijian Airlines is going. And this name, CEO Andre Viljoen, came up all over the place with the wonderful work he's doing, how he's actually turned the airline around, how he's going to make it incredibly profitable, how it's boosting tourism in Fiji. And I thought, hang on, Viljoen, that's a South African name. I didn't know who he was from a bar of soap. So I went to Google, and you can go to Google and do exactly what I did. And you'll see this guy left South African Airways suddenly for no reason back in 2004 when the ANC were bringing in their cadres to run that airline. Now, think about it. Think about where South African Airways would be today if they had the original management there, and if they hadn't just shunted them out and brought in their ANC mates who just totally effed it up. I mean, that's basically what's happened. Okay, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to show you. All right, now we're looking at the advertisement Fiji Airways put in today in the Fiji Times newspaper. And I'm just going to read you a few of the extracts from it. And it starts off by saying, Bula! On behalf of Fiji Airways management and staff, I'd like to say a big Vanaka Vakalevo, which means thank you so much. We are all very humbled and grateful for the overwhelming positive wishes received from all Fijians, both locally and abroad, in response to the arrival of our 2 brand new Airbus A350-900 XWB aircraft. Thank you for your loyalty and passionately supporting your national airline. I would like to share with you some interesting facts, statistics and information regarding our 2 new A350s. Now, of course, you can actually look that up for yourself. But what they say here, which is very, very important, is that having their own Fijian airline is a huge booster for tourism. And of course, that's self-evident. And there's the man himself, Andre Viljoen, Managing Director and CEO of Fiji Airways. What a loss to South Africa. Thank you, ANC government. And inside the Fiji Times is this 4-page advertising feature. Jewel of the skies, the Airbus A350-900 XWB. And you've got all the other suppliers congratulating Air Fiji. And we'll just go through some of the pages of this. Now imagine South African Airways could have been like this if they hadn't just brought in their little cadres. Here we go. PM welcomes Airbus. Fiji flies to new heights. The Police Global family warmly congratulates Fiji Airlines on the delivery of their stunning island of VT level A350 XWBs, proud suppliers of Fijian Airlines. A lifetime of experience. And we're talking about the pilots, Fiji Airways pilots. Now, if you're a South African Airways pilot and you're looking for a job, I would suggest that you look very carefully at Fiji. You've got a South African ex-SAA CEO at the helm. I'm sure he would be very, very compassionate towards your position. And of course down here we have all, let's see, sorry guys, that's Fijian wind blowing for you. There we go. A game changer for tourism. Now, this is the article in this. Sorry guys. This is called Nature. Okay, a game changer for tourism. Tourism Minister Pramila Kumar believes Fiji tourism industry has added another vital tool to increase visitor arrivals with the inclusion of the A350-900 XWB Island of Viti level to the Fiji Airways fleet. And you know, so it goes on. And she says when tourists come to Fiji, the first experience they have is when they enter a Fiji Airways flight, and their first impressions and overall look of their holiday begins with the national carrier. So for the airline to invest and continue to improve and be innovative with their services is something that can only benefit our tourism industry as a whole. An aircraft like this that goes longer distances in a shortened period of time will mean more visitor turnovers and more revenue for the economy. It is fuel efficient, which also helps the airline save a lot of its operational costs, and that is again something that we as a country stand to benefit from. Fiji Airways CEO and Managing Director Andre Viljoen said the Airbus A350-900 was a game changer in the commercial aviation world. We are proud and humbled about the leading role we play in Asia. Sorry guys, I can't edit this because of my computer. Anyway, Viljoen said, "We are proud and humbled about the leading role we play in aviation in the Australia-Pacific region. We take bold steps and accept any challenge that comes our way." He said the inaugural flight for the island of Viti level was scheduled for December the 1st between Sydney and Nadi. So there you go, guys. Just imagine if the ANC hadn't shafted Andre Viljoen, what he could have done for South African Airways. Of course, the horse is bolted now, but now you know what the situation is. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, stay safe. Bye for now.